In every town, there is always someone you trust without questioning, a figure of authority, someone you believe will always do what is right. But what happens when a man sworn to deliver justice becomes the center of a crime so disturbing that shatters an entire community's trust? Judge Mark Pazuhanich was a respected figure in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, a symbol of authority, fairness, and integrity. But beneath the surface of his prestigious career lay a horrifying secret. On a November evening in 2003, at what should have been a simple family outing, everything changed. Accusations of abuse surfaced. Accusations that would reveal a betrayal of the most innocent kind. This is True Crime Hub, your destination for uncovering the darkest and most compelling stories that shape our world. In today's episode, we take a deep dive into the case of Judge Mark Pazuhanich, a story of power abused, innocence betrayed, and a scandal that rocked the legal system. Stay with us as we unravel the shocking truth behind this infamous case. Monroe County, Pennsylvania, a quiet, unassuming place tucked away in the northeastern corner of the state. Known for its rolling hills and small-town charm, it was a community where life moved at a steady, predictable pace. In November 2003, the air was crisp, and the streets were lined with trees shedding their golden leaves. It was the kind of town where the courthouse stood as a symbol of order and justice, and the man who presided there, Judge Mark Pazuhanich, was seen as a pillar of integrity. Judge Pazuhanich was a man of authority and respect. Known for his sharp legal mind and steady hand on the bench, he was a figure admired by colleagues and trusted by the community. His decisions carried weight, and his reputation as a fair and decisive judge made him a household name in Monroe County. But as the town prepared for the holiday season, a darker reality was beginning to emerge, one that would challenge everything this community believed about its trusted figures. Behind the robe, behind the gavel, and behind the public admiration was a secret so shocking it would forever stain the name of the courthouse and the man who once ruled it. Mark Pazuhanich was no ordinary man in Monroe County. Born and raised in Pennsylvania, his life was marked by ambition and an unwavering determination to rise within the legal world. After earning his law degree, he built a reputation as a skilled attorney with an unmatched ability to navigate complex legal challenges. By the time he donned the robes of a judge, he was celebrated as a tough yet fair arbiter of justice. His courtroom demeanor was sharp and decisive, earning him the respect of his peers and the trust of the community. For years, his rulings were seen as the gold standard of judicial integrity, a man whose life seemed above reproach. But beyond the courtroom, Pazuhanich's private life painted a different picture. He was a father to a young daughter, a 10-year-old who was described by neighbors and friends as bright, full of life, and always seen by her father's side at public events. To outsiders, there seemed like the perfect family, a successful judge and his innocent, cheerful daughter sharing moments of joy. Yet, as is often the case, appearances can be deceiving. Beneath the surface of their seemingly happy family dynamic were signs of strain. Friends spoke of moments that felt out of place, quiet tensions that hinted at deeper issues. While Mark Pazuhanich's public persona remained untarnished, those closest to him began to notice cracks in the facade. These subtle tensions, though dismissed at the time, would later come in a sharper focus as the event of November 2003 unraveled. What seemed like a picture-perfect family would soon become the center of one of the most disturbing scandals in Monroe County's history. It was November 2003, and the Kirby Center for the Performing Arts in Wilkes-Barre was alive with energy. Families gathered for an evening of music and entertainment, the kind of community event that brought joy to children and adults alike. Among the crowd that evening was Judge Mark Pazuhanich, accompanied by his 10-year-old daughter. To onlookers, they seemed like any other family enjoying a night out. The lights dimmed, and the performers took the stage, captivating the audience with their talent. Amidst the applause and laughter, no one could have imagined that, hidden within the shadows of the concert hall, something unspeakable was taking place. Accounts from that evening suggest that Mark Pazuhanich's behavior toward his daughter became increasingly concerning. Witnesses later described moments that seemed out of place, gestures and actions that hinted at something deeply troubling. It wasn't until the concert ended and the family returned home that the full extent of what had happened began to surface. Whispers turned into allegations, and those allegations would soon lead to an official investigation. The details of what occurred remained sensitive and difficult to comprehend. What should have been a night of joy and bonding became the catalyst for a scandal that would shock an entire community. The man once trusted to deliver justice was now at the center of allegations that defied everything he represented. As the days unfolded, law enforcement began piecing together the events of that evening. What they uncovered would lead to one of the most high-profile arrests in Monroe County's history. Judge Mark Pazuhanich's life was about to take a dramatic turn, and the community he served would never look at him the same way again. The days following that November evening were filled with questions, confusion, and growing suspicion. It was Judge Mark Pazuhanich's wife who first raised the alarm. A mother's intuition, combined with subtle signs and concerning behavior, led her to believe that something wasn't right. What she suspected was unthinkable, but the evidence she uncovered was impossible to ignore. She reported her concerns to law enforcement, and investigators immediately began their work. The case was delicate. This wasn't just anyone they were investigating. It was a sitting judge, a man who had worked alongside the very officers now tasked with uncovering the truth. Detectives approached the case methodically, starting with interviews. Witnesses from the concert were questioned, and their accounts painted a troubling picture of the judge's behavior that night. While no one had initially recognized the severity of the situation, small details began to add up, creating a disturbing narrative. Forensic evidence became a crucial part of the investigation. The child underwent a medical evaluation, and the findings, while sensitive, added weight to the growing case against Pazuhanich. Investigators also collected phone records, correspondence, and other materials that could support the allegations. Despite the mounting evidence, challenges emerged. Some in the legal community were hesitant to act against one of their own, and the public was still grappling with the possibility that such a respected figure could be capable of such actions. But for the detectives, the facts were clear. In one pivotal moment, an officer described how, after piecing together eyewitness accounts and forensic details, the full extent of Pazuhanich's actions became undeniable. It was as if the puzzle was complete, one investigator would later say. The evidence led to a confrontation with the judge himself. On November 7, 2003, Mark Pazuhanich was formally arrested and charged with indecent assault, endangering the welfare of children, and corruption of minors. It was a shocking moment for the community. A judge in handcuffs, his reputation in ruins, and his career effectively over. As the case moved forward, the spotlight turned to the courtroom where Pazuhanich had once presided. Now, he stood as a defendant, facing the very justice he once delivered. November 7, 2003, a day that would forever change the life of Judge Mark Pazuhanich and the community of Monroe County. For the first time, a man known for enforcing the law found himself on the other side of it. His arrest sent shockwaves through the legal system, and the charges filed against him were damning: indecent assault, endangering the welfare of children, and corruption of minors. As news of the arrest spread, the public reaction was swift and unforgiving. The image of Pazuhanich being led away in handcuffs was a stark contrast to the respected figure many had admired in the courtroom. Headlines across Pennsylvania screamed his name, and the whispers of scandal turned into a roar of outrage. In the days that followed, the courtroom became the center of attention. The man who had once presided over cases with authority now stood as a defendant. His legal team worked tirelessly to negotiate a plea deal, knowing that the evidence against him was overwhelming. The prosecution, on the other hand, sought to ensure that justice was served for the victim, his own 10-year-old daughter. Inside the courtroom, the tension was palpable. The defense argued for leniency, citing Pazuhanich's career and his clean record prior to the incident. But the prosecution countered with chilling details of the crime, painting a picture of a man who had betrayed the most sacred trust. The emotional toll on the victim and her family was undeniable. The young girl's innocence had been shattered, and her mother, now left to pick up the pieces, was a visible presence during the proceedings. Her face, often filled with a mix of pain and determination, became a symbol of the fight for justice. The trial itself never came to fruition. Facing mounting evidence and public pressure, Pazuhanich entered a plea deal. In exchange for his guilty plea, he was sentenced to 10 years of probation and required to register as a sex offender under Megan's law. It was a punishment that many felt was too lenient, given the gravity of the crime. Outside the courthouse, the public's anger was clear. Protests erupted, with signs calling for harsher penalties and chants demanding accountability. For many, this case wasn't just about Pazuhanich, it was about the legal system itself and whether it could truly hold its own accountable. For Mark Pazuhanich, the legal battle was over, but his life would never be the same. Disgraced and disbarred, he became a pariah in the community he once served. The courtroom, once his domain, was now the place where his reputation and career had been permanently destroyed. Just when the public thought justice had been served, an unexpected twist left the community stunned. In December 2012, less than 10 years after his conviction, Mark Pazuhanich petitioned the court for early termination of his probation. At the time of his sentencing, Pazuhanich was required to register as a sex offender under Megan's law for the duration of his 10-year probation. However, with his probation cut short, he would no longer be required to remain on the registry. This decision outraged many, who believed the punishment did not fit the severity of the crime. Legal experts debated the implications of the court's ruling. Critics argued that early termination set a dangerous precedent, sending a message that even those in positions of power could evade full accountability. Others pointed to loopholes in Megan's law, which, in its earlier form, allowed offenders to avoid lifetime registration if their probation ended before legislative updates took effect. The public's response was immediate. Victims' advocacy groups voiced their frustration, calling for stricter reforms to prevent similar cases in the future. For the victim's family, the decision was a painful reminder that justice, while delivered, had fallen short of their expectations. The headlines reflected the anger and confusion of a betrayed community. Judge escapes sex offender registry. Legal loophole sparks outrage in Monroe County. Once again, Mark Pazuhanich found himself in the spotlight, not as a judge or defendant, but as a symbol of a flawed system. This twist in the case underscored a harsh reality. Even when convictions are secured, the aftermath of justice can leave victims and communities feeling incomplete. For many, the early termination of Pazuhanich's probation wasn't just a legal decision. It was a reminder of the complexities and imperfections of the justice system. Mark Pazuhanich's legal battle ended with a sentence that, while delivering justice in the eyes of the court, left the public divided. In 2004, he was sentenced to 10 years of probation after pleading no contest to charges of indecent assault, endangering the welfare of children, and corruption of minors. As part of his punishment, he was required to register as a sex offender under Megan's law for the duration of his probation. This sentencing marked the end of his career as a respected judge. Pazuhanich was disbarred, ensuring he would never again serve in a legal or judicial capacity. For a man who once held immense power in Monroe County, the fall from grace was staggering. But the broader implications of the case extended far beyond his personal consequences. The scandal had deeply shaken public trust in the legal system. How could someone entrusted with upholding the law commit such a heinous act? And how could the same system appear so lenient in its punishment of one of its own? For the victim and her family, the trauma extended beyond the courtroom. They were left to navigate a world where the scars of betrayal ran deep. The community, too, grappled with the fallout. Protests erupted outside the courthouse, with signs demanding stricter penalties for those in power who abused their positions. The case also highlighted significant flaws in Megan's law at the time. While it required sex offender registration, the legislation had loopholes that allowed individuals like Pazuhanich to escape lifetime monitoring if their probation ended early. This sparked calls for reform, leading to updates in the law to ensure stricter compliance and longer-term accountability for offenders. This wasn't just about one man's fall from grace. It raised critical questions about power, accountability, and the balance of justice. Pazuhanich's case became a grim reminder of the responsibility entrusted to those in authority and the devastating consequences when that trust is broken. By the end of his probation, Mark Pazuhanich was no longer required to register as a sex offender. But the stain on his reputation remained permanent. His name, once synonymous with fairness and authority, became a cautionary tale of power abused and justice questioned. The case of Judge Mark Pazuhanich serves as a grim reminder that even those we trust to uphold justice can betray it in unimaginable ways. It's a stark example of the devastating impact when power is abused, and the importance of ensuring that victims, especially the most vulnerable among us, are protected and heard. This story isn't just about one man's downfall. It's about the cracks in a system that allowed someone in such a position of authority to exploit it. It's about a community left to question how justice is served and a family left to rebuild after unimaginable betrayal. What do you think about the outcome of this case? Was justice truly served, or did the legal system fall short? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from you. If you found this case compelling, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to True Crime Hub, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another gripping true crime story. We bring you the most chilling, thought-provoking cases every time, diving deep into the details and uncovering the truth behind the headlines. Thank you for watching True Crime Hub. We'll see you next time.